This is Blackstone Joe, and you're listening to Slick Talk.
If I say I'm an oil man, you will agree.
There's the stink of oil about you.
Hello and welcome into Slick Talk. I am your host, Blackstone Joe, and I'm glad you're here. Today's episode is about transmissions. Well, really, transmissions two ways. First off, the sending of data, and in this case, it is data from a gearbox, just like the one you have in your car that's needed to transfer power from the engine to the wheels. The engine of this particular story is actually, well, the transmission under the hood of a 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. If you're not familiar, those have the continuously variable transmission. And this story started with what was asked by the customer on the oil information slip. In this particular case, they wanted to know if we could do a test to see if the sample of CVT fluid was the correct CVT fluid installed into the vehicle. Now, the oil type on the slip was only noted as fully synthetic, so we couldn't derive what the oil was supposed to be just based on what was written on the slip. So that meant we needed to do a little digging and familiarize ourselves with what the fluid is supposed to be, what the Mitsubishi recommended oil is for the 2022 Outlander and its CVT. Now, in this particular case, that would be the Mitsubishi J4 CVT oil. J4 CVT oil is a particular product that we have seen samples of previously. So it's possible for us to speak to whether or not the additive package is correct for that oil. Now, the additive package is something that we're going to see in the spectral exam. Levels of boron, calcium, phosphorus, they can indicate whether or not this looks like the correct fluid. Other factors we can look at include the viscosity. However, the viscosity of CVT fluid, if you're not familiar, looks an awful lot like the viscosity of an ATF. So we can't really say if it's the correct fluid based on the viscosity alone. We also need to look at the additive package and see if that matches up. In this particular case, it didn't appear to be that Mitsubishi J4 CVT oil. So we noted that assuming it was supposed to be that oil, it doesn't appear to be right based on the additive package. So that is our starting point for this particular transmission and its data. That's what we sent out to the customer because based on what we knew, the question they had in mind, that was the fitting answer, letting them know if this did appear to be the correct fluid, what Mitsubishi was calling for. We had a follow-up. The same day we sent out the report, the customer had some additional details. They let us know that was actually supposed to be Valvoline CVT fluid. They took the transmission to a Valvoline shop, wanted to know if, A, this was Valvoline CVT fluid, and B, if this fluid could have caused a failure. Now, we didn't know about a failure being in play just by going off the oil information slip. That wasn't a possibility they had noted. And when we looked at the results, they didn't necessarily scream failure either. In order to assess whether or not a system, be it an engine, transmission, differential, assessing the possibility, the likelihood of a failure really involves taking a close look at the metals and whether or not they're excessive for that particular system. When looking at this data, the only metal that seemed a little high was aluminum. Now, it's possible that in light of a failure, that does show an issue, perhaps with the oil pump or maybe the bearings. But really, it's only a possibility. There's more than one factor, besides poor wear, that could have caused high aluminum in this case. The mileage on the unit was still pretty low. If this was only the second fill the transmission had seen, then it would make sense for some of the aluminum to possibly be lingering wear in. The thing is, when you put the wrong fluid into a CVT transmission, systems that are pretty sensitive on the whole, it's possible for a failure to be sudden. We may not see it in the wear metals because there just hasn't been much time for that metal to accumulate in the transmission itself. Still, knowing that this wasn't supposed to be the Mitsubishi CVT fluid that we had on file, we needed to reassess, go back to the additive package, and see if it looked comparable to Valvoline CVT fluids that we have tested. Even then, something appeared to be off. The levels of boron, calcium, phosphorus, they didn't really resemble Valvoline products either. And there's a possible reason for that. If we had Valvoline in use after a previous fluid, then carryover from that last fill could have influenced the additive somewhat. So that's a possibility we want to transmit to the customer about their transmission. Let them know that the additive package does seem to be incorrect. Maybe that's due to a previous fill being different. What's even harder still, though, is being sure if this particular mix or the fluid itself caused a failure. This is another example of why having trends or history from the get-go is so valuable for your vehicle. Because if you know how the transmission, or if it's the engine or differential, was doing from the start, you can then see how things are changing. It's possible that this sample did show a striking change in the way metals were trending from that initial fill, because again, it looked like there had been at least one fluid change previously. But we don't have that starting point. What we do have are metals that in general look okay, an aluminum level that can speak to some excess wear. But what is certain is the additive package just doesn't fit the bill, either of the Valvoline that we now know it's supposed to be, or that fluid that we're familiar with Mitsubishi recommending for their transmissions. To be honest, this is actually kind of an enjoyable saga to suss out. Not for the customer, their transmission, the problem they're trying to address, but in terms of being in the analyst chair and trying to find out what's what. It's so different from the typical Toyota or the Honda that is continuing to wear well, not make a lot of metal after another 5,000 mile run. It's always fun to send along the good news, of course, but this is where the nitty-gritty of analysis really happens. Trying to determine if the right fluid was in use and seeing if metals can speak to something that is not normal wear. And after going through all of the gray area that is involved in this process, I think there's one clear takeaway that you should keep in mind if you are someone who is either new to oil analysis, or even if you're a veteran and you have not considered testing the transmission fluid. Keep in mind that the additive package is something that you can nail down when sending in a sample, knowing if it does appear to be correct. And furthermore, knowing that failures can occur just from using the wrong fluid. And if you are continuously checking, running the fluid that's called for, and knowing that the fluid does appear to be correct based on the additive package, something you can learn with every standard analysis, you can be confident that the correct fluid is in use. And if you sample that transmission from the start of its life, the first fill, into the second, and the next, you can know that the correct fluid is in use based on the additive package, and knowing both what you're supposed to run and letting us know what the oil is supposed to be as well. If we have the particular fluid that you're running on file, then we can always let you know if it appears to be right, based on those elements that are in the additive package. And of course, if there's something that's way out of left field that could possibly be in use, we can let you know if the viscosity can speak to that as well. But in most cases, you can be confident that the fluid is correct just by ordering a standard analysis. The transmission sample size is the same as the engine oil, so you're talking about 3.5 ounces to know if that fluid is right or if there's something that appears to be off. If you do suspect that the wrong fluid is in use, I wouldn't wait to get a look at that fluid before you even notice something being wrong operationally. Transmissions, again, are sensitive systems. So you want to know that everything is in its proper place. So don't wait for there to be something sudden that crops up and may or may not have the chance to leave excess wear behind. The clear-cut evidence is going to be there in that oil's additive package. So you don't have to wait for metals to speak to something being wrong. Sampling to know the right fluid is in use will save you the failure, and you don't have to worry about picking through all of those ambiguous details like what could be wear in or what could not be. Put aside the signs of excess wear because that's not what you want to wait for. Engines have a lot more flexibility when it comes to running different brands or blends, but transmissions are more intricate systems. There's a lot more going on that can be disrupted at the drop of a hat by the wrong fluid being in use. If we were able to have some productive communication before the sample from this Mitsubishi arrived, we would have liked all of this to be as straightforward as possible. So if you are considering sending in a sample, the correct steps are ordering a kit, filling out the slip with details on the oil type you're sampling and what it is you're suspicious of. That brings today's show to a close. If you're interested on more information regarding what we do for engines or transmissions, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any particular questions about a fluid type before you send one in. If you have questions about whether we can find this problem or that, or if you have an idea for what might make an interesting podcast episode, feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. This is Blackstone Joe, signing off.
The Slick Talk podcast is powered by Blackstone Laboratories. If you're ready to start your oil analysis journey, visit blackstone-labs.com to order your free test kit.